Another red-blooded American philanthropist who helped freedom last was Alfred Loomis. His philanthropic field was national defense. Many of us think of defense as the ultimate government responsibility and a place without room or need for philanthropy. So it may come as a surprise to learn that throughout our history, private donors have played important roles in securing our nation. Private donors financed our revolution. They created the modern field of code making and breaking. Donors single-handedly developed the field of rocketry and fanned private space launch into fiery success. See, donors who come to the aid of their country. And the summer of 2015 issue of Philanthropy magazine for details on how philanthropy has repeatedly bolstered our national defense. No donor was more crucial in building America's military strength than Alfred Loomis. After financing much of the electrification of rural America as a Wall Street dealmaker, he became convinced that the stock market was overvalued and converted everything he owned to cash and T-bills in 1929. October 1929 crash came. He was not only protected, but in perfect position to go shopping at bargain prices. By the early 1930s, Loomis was one of the richest men in America, and at age 45, he retired from finance to put all of his time and energy and much of his money into his true love, science. He set up one of the world's great science labs in a mansion near his home, invited top researchers from all around the world to experiment there, and conducted his own state-of-the-art investigations. While visiting Berlin in 1938, Loomis was disturbed to find out how popular Hitler was and how good German scientists were. He returned home convinced that the war was brewing and that science would have a lot to do with who won. He poured himself and his money into one new field in particular, using radio waves to detect moving objects. His lab quickly became the national leader in what we now call radar. Thanks to Loomis's findings and leadership, practical radar sets were created under his supervision and delivered to the Army and Navy by the thousands, turning the tide of World War II. If radar won the war, the atomic bomb ended it. And as it happens, Alfred Loomis had a lot to do with that as well. The method he used for his radar triumphs was relentlessly gather the best scientific minds without regard to their prior specialties, give them rich resources, and protect them from bureaucratic interference. When it became apparent how powerful Loomis's modus operandi was, it was directly copied for the Manhattan Project. Indeed, most of his scientists were transferred over to work on the bomb. Franklin Roosevelt later said that, aside from Winston Churchill, no civilian did more to win World War II than Alfred Loomis. By the way, it isn't only Alfred Loomis's brilliant model for conducting crass research that lives on today. He also left behind a flesh and blood embodiment of his whirlwind entrepreneurial philanthropy. His great-grandson is Reed Hastings, who, as CEO of Netflix and one of the nation's most influential progenitors of charter schools as a donor, has been a huge game changer in both business and philanthropy.